Oreo's story began in 1912 with a simple idea: 2 chocolate wafers joined by a sweet vanilla filling. More than a century later, that idea has grown into a global icon, with over 60 billion Oreos sold every year. That's about 160 million cookies enjoyed daily across the world. From its early days to the high-speed production lines of today, Oreo has become more than just a snack. But how does this cookie actually come together inside the factory? Stick around as we uncover all that here at the Process World. Oreo's journey began in 1912 when the National Biscuit Company, now Nabisco, introduced a cookie made of 2 chocolate wafers joined by a sweet vanilla filling. Simple as it was, the idea sparked a craze that has lasted more than a century. The earliest Oreo design featured a floral wreath around the edge with the name stamped boldly in the center. That look evolved over time, most famously in 1952. But the identity of the cookie never changed. The recipe has seen adjustments too. In its early years, the filling was made with lard before being replaced with vegetable oils to meet shifting health standards. What never changed was the balance between crisp wafers and creamy filling, the heart of what made Oreo addictive from the start. By the mid-1900s, Oreo had already expanded far beyond New York. Factories opened worldwide, local flavors were introduced, and the brand adapted while keeping the original classic at its core. But what exactly goes on inside those factories that turn simple ingredients into billions of cookies each year? Well, before we continue, please leave a like and subscribe for more amazing videos like this one. Now moving on. Before a single Oreo takes shape on the production line, the groundwork is laid with ingredients chosen for both quality and consistency. It all begins with flour, and not just any flour. Oreo relies on all-purpose flour that comes from wheat farms in the United States. To make sure every batch of dough stays smooth, the flour is carefully sifted to remove lumps. High-protein flour is avoided because it creates too much gluten, which would make the cookies tough instead of crisp. Sugar is the next player in the lineup. The factories use fine white granulated sugar, also sourced from local farms. Large sugar crystals don't dissolve well and could leave the cookies with rough, cracked surfaces. That's why finely ground sugar is preferred, keeping each wafer smooth and even. Interestingly, sugar only makes up about 15% of the cookie dough's dry ingredients. Then there's cocoa powder, the ingredient responsible for Oreo's iconic deep color and chocolate flavor. The cocoa starts its journey in countries like Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire, and Indonesia, where cacao beans are harvested, roasted, and processed. What makes Oreo's cocoa stand out is that it's alkalized, also known as Dutch processed cocoa. This treatment neutralizes the natural acidity, giving the cookies their signature dark look and smooth, mellow taste. Without this step, the cookies would turn out lighter and tangier, completely changing their flavor profile. Of course, other essentials also go into the mix. Vegetable oil provides the fat content needed for binding and texture, while baking soda and salt fine-tune the structure and balance of the dough. Each ingredient is weighed and checked with precision, ensuring that every Oreo starts with the exact same foundation no matter where in the world it's made. Once the ingredients are ready, it's time to bring them together in massive industrial mixers. The mixing process starts with the dry ingredients: flour, cocoa, sugar, and salt. As the powders swirl together, streams of canola oil are poured in to help bind everything into a sticky chocolate dough. Water is then added, transforming the mixture into something that looks heavy and rich. To keep the dough workable, factories use dry ice during mixing. As it evaporates, the dry ice rapidly cools the dough, preventing it from getting too warm and ensuring the final cookies won't crack when shaped. Cooling is more than just a small step. It gives the dough the strength it needs to move smoothly through the production line. After about 30 minutes of resting in this chilled state, a leavening agent is added. This ingredient is what helps the wafers bake into their crisp yet light texture instead of turning dense. By the end of this stage, what started as separate raw ingredients has transformed into a rich, chocolatey dough with just the right balance of firmness and flexibility. It's now perfectly prepared for the next part of the journey. The chocolate dough is fed onto conveyor belts and flattened by heavy rollers, creating wide sheets of even thickness. This step is important because consistency here ensures that every single cookie bakes evenly later on. Once the sheets are smooth, they pass through rotary cutters. These machines don't just slice the dough into neat circles, they also stamp the iconic Oreo design at the same time. The detailed wreath pattern and bold Oreo name are pressed deep into the surface of every wafer. It's a design that hasn't lost its power for more than 70 years, instantly recognizable across the world. The stamping process is fast and precise. High-speed machines can turn out thousands of perfectly shaped cookies every hour, all aligned and uniform. Any extra dough trimmed from the edges doesn't go to waste. It's collected, remixed, and fed back into the process to keep production efficient. By the end of this stage, rows of raw Oreo cookies are ready for heat. They've got the perfect size, thickness, and the world-famous design stamped on top. The next stop for these little chocolate circles is the massive ovens, where they'll be baked to perfection. The temperature inside stays steady at around 360 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to bring out that dark, rich chocolate color while keeping the wafers light and crisp. Each cookie spends about 10 to 12 minutes on this journey through the oven. Too short, and they wouldn't develop the right texture. Too long, and they'd lose their delicate crunch. Precision here is what keeps Oreos consistent, no matter which factory they come from. The conveyor system keeps the process continuous. As one batch enters, another is finishing, creating a constant flow of cookies moving through the heat. The result is a steady stream of perfectly baked wafers, each with the same look, feel, and bite as the ones that came before. Then as soon as the cookies exit the ovens, they're met with powerful blasts of cool air. Industrial fans line the conveyor system, quickly lowering the temperature of the wafers. This cooling stage helps lock in that light crunch and stabilizes the structure of every cookie. The production floor at this point looks like a flowing river of chocolate wafers. Row after row moves down the belts, and now the human element becomes crucial. Workers stationed along the line keep their eyes trained on the passing cookies. Any wafer that shows cracks, uneven coloring, or misshapen edges is removed instantly. By the time this stage wraps up, the factory has trays of cooled, flawless wafers ready to meet the cream filling. This step is carried out with the same level of precision as the cookies themselves. The recipe starts with powdered sugar and vegetable fat, two ingredients that form the base of the filling. These are loaded into massive mixing tanks where high-speed blades whip them into a smooth blend. Once the base is ready, corn syrup is introduced slowly. This ingredient gives the cream its slight stretch and helps it stay moist, preventing it from drying out once it's sealed between the wafers. At the same time, natural or artificial vanilla flavoring is added, creating the distinct aroma that makes Oreos so recognizable. Temperature control is critical here. The cream has to be mixed in an environment kept between 68 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. That narrow range keeps the filling soft enough to flow easily through the machines while remaining firm enough to hold its shape on the cookies. Once this consistency is achieved and the wafers have cooled, the production line moves into the stage that defines Oreo itself: sandwiching. Half of the wafers travel neatly down conveyor belts in perfect rows, while precision nozzles release measured swirls of cream onto each one. The machines are calibrated so every swirl is identical in height, width, and weight. Once the filling is in place, the second set of wafers drops gently on top. The pressure is carefully controlled, strong enough to spread the cream evenly, yet light enough to keep the edges clean and the embossed design intact. This balance is what gives Oreos their uniform look, with the cream holding steady between two identical chocolate wafers. The efficiency of this process is staggering. A single production line can produce up to 3,000 fully assembled Oreos every minute. To keep everything running smoothly, the cookies immediately pass through a cooling tunnel. This step helps the cream firm up, locking the filling in place so the sandwiches stay intact during handling and packaging. Quality checks don't stop here. Samples are weighed, measured, and inspected to confirm that every Oreo leaving the line meets the brand standards. Any cookie that doesn't meet expectations is removed instantly, keeping consistency across millions of units produced daily. In the end, the Oreos have become what we all recognize: perfectly formed sandwich cookies, aligned and ready for the next step in their journey: packaging. In this stage, robotic arms group the cookies into bundles, usually 11 at a time, and place them into plastic trays that hold them securely in place. These trays then move to wrapping machines, where airtight seals lock in the crisp wafers and creamy centers, shielding them from air and moisture that could spoil their texture. Next, the sealed trays are packed into printed cartons. These carry the familiar Oreo branding, along with nutrition details and barcodes, making them instantly recognizable around the world. Once boxed, the products are stacked onto pallets and routed through a global distribution system that moves them from factories to warehouses and into stores. By the time a pack is picked up by a shopper, it has passed through a tightly controlled chain of automation and logistics designed to deliver the same Oreo experience everywhere. So, after more than a century, millions of cookies every single day, and a process fine-tuned down to the smallest detail, Oreo still holds its crown as the world's favorite cookie. But here's the real question. Is it the crunch of the chocolate wafer, the sweetness of the crème, or the ritual of twisting and dunking that makes it so addictive? Comment down below as you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this one.